There is a slate hanging by the door of my byre, and it is black with flies. Not painted black, covered. Hundreds of them stuck fast to it, and more landing while I stand here looking at it. In about an hour, I will lift that slate down and lay it flat on the ground in the hen run, and my birds will strip it clean in 4 minutes, flies and all. They will lick the stone. Now, I know exactly what you are thinking, because everyone thinks it. You are looking at that, and you are seeing fly paper. And you are thinking that a hen eating off a sticky board ends up with glue on her face and poison in her gut. You are right. About the glue, you are right, and I will show you later what that job looks like when it goes wrong, because I have had to do it, and I would not wish it on you. There is no glue on my slate. What is on it came out of a jar in my own kitchen. The jar cost about £1, and my grandmother had one of these on the go every summer of her life. I've not bought a bag of layer feed in 19 years. No pellets in that byre. No crumb, no tub of grit that came in a lorry, no powder for the yolk. Nothing on this croft that a hen puts in her beak came off a lorry. And the slate is only one of 10 ways I do it. The birds are fed. They are laying now in August. 11 of them, and I have more eggs than my wife knows what to do with. They are fed off the ground. My name is Angus Douglas. I croft the same ground my great-grandfather crofted, above the loch on the west side. 5th generation on it. 240 ewes on the hill, and 11 hens in the yard, which is the wrong way round for a serious poultry man. But it is how it has always been here. The nearest vet is 90 minutes if the road is clear, and it is not clear in February. I have worked 41 lambings. My hand split every spring at the knuckle, and no cream has ever fixed it. And my wife has told me twice this year to get that slate off the byre door before the minister comes, and twice I've not moved it. Now let me say one thing, and then I will not bring it up again. I have put all of it down in a book over at angusdouglaspoultry.com. Every method, the whole year of it, and the winter months this video does not cover. If you want it, it is there, or you can scan the code on the screen, that is all. Now let us get back to the birds. Here is the part you may not like. The ration in that bag is complete. It says so on the front, and it is telling you the truth. It has to be complete. It has to have every amino acid and every mineral and every vitamin built into it, in the right ratio, because the bird eating it has been taken off the ground. She has nothing else. She stands on wood shavings or on bare dirt, and every single thing that enters that bird enters through the trough. So the trough must hold everything, or she dies. And that is what you are buying. You are not buying nutrition. You are buying a replacement for ground. Here is the thing the merchants will not put on the bag. That deep orange yolk you associate with a good egg, the one on the front of the packet, the one you think means the bird was well kept. In a great deal of commercial production, that colour comes out of a drum. It is a powder. Marigold extract, or a synthetic called canthaxanthine, bought by the kilogram and mixed through the ration, because a hen that never touches grass lays a yolk the colour of wet sand, and no one at the shop would put it in their basket. There is a colour chart. The producers pick a number off it. I want you to sit with that. The industry has to sell you the pigment because it first sold you a bird that could not go and find its own. A feed company cannot say that to you. A feed shop cannot say it. Any channel with a feed sponsor on it cannot say it. And I would say the great bulk of poultry content on this platform has a feed sponsor on it somewhere. I do not sell feed. There is no bag with my name on it, and there never will be. So I will say it plainly, and then I will show you the 10 things I actually do in order, with what they cost and when in the year to do them. And one of them is a thing no one on the internet can do unless they keep sheep. Stay with me, because the last 3 are worth more than the first 7. Start with the principle, because if you do not have this, the 10 methods are just tricks. A hen is not a stomach you fill. A hen is a small hunting animal that eats about 200 things a day, and most of them move. Watch a hen for 20 minutes. She is not grazing. A sheep grazes. A hen quarters the ground like a dog, head cocked, one eye down, and she is looking for movement. That bird is a predator wearing feathers. Her natural diet in the jungle she came out of was insects, larvae, seed, green shoot, and whatever she could turn over. Protein came in with legs on it. So when a man tells you a hen needs 16% protein in her ration, he is correct, and he is also telling you nothing. The question is where the protein walks in from. In a bag, it walks in from soya grown across an ocean, with synthetic methionine added back in because soya does not have enough of it for a bird. In my yard, it walks in on 6 legs, and the methionine is already in it, because that is what the bird was built to eat. That is the whole of it. You are not replacing feed. You are giving the bird back the ground, and the ground was always doing this work for free. My grandfather called it letting the birds work. He did not have a word for protein. He had a word for a lazy hen, which was a hen that had been given too much. He kept 40 birds through the war and after it, and the only thing he ever bought for them was a half sack of bruised barley from the mill in November, and he stretched that until March. Everything else came off the croft. He hung a dead ewe from a gibbet over the run in the summer and let the flies do what flies do, and the hens stood under it and got fat. That is where all of this comes from. I cannot hang a ewe now, and I will come back to that because it matters and because I am not going to pretend to you. Before the list, I want to give you the reason, because if you understand the reason, you will never need another video on this. A bird does not need protein. A bird needs about 10 particular amino acids that she cannot build herself, and the 2 that run short first are methionine and lysine. Everything else in the argument is noise. Now, soya is a fine protein, and it is cheap and it ships well, which is why it is the backbone of nearly every bag sold on this earth. But soya is short on methionine for a bird, so the mill adds it. Synthetic methionine, made in a factory, poured back into the mix, and it is on the label if you turn the bag round and look. There is nothing sinister in it. It is simply what you must do when you have decided to feed a hen out of a bean. An insect larva does not need correcting. It comes out of that tin with the methionine already in the right place, because a hen has been eating larvae for a great deal longer than there have been mills. The same is true of the lysine. The same is true of the fat, which is why a bird on larvae carries condition into a molt, and a bird on pellets often does not. And there is a second thing which nobody mentions. That ration is formulated to a minimum. It is built to keep a commercial bird productive for about 72 weeks, and then she is done and she is replaced. And every figure in that formula is set at the least that will achieve it, because at scale, 1/10 of a penny a bird a day is a great deal of money. It is not built for a hen you intend to keep for 6 years and call by a name. Your birds are not the animal the bag was designed for. So 10 methods, here they are, in the order I use them through a year. 1. Flies. This is the strongest thing on the list, and the slate you saw at the start is only the 3rd part of it. Start with the tin. Take an old paint tin or syrup tin, punch 16 or 20 holes in the base with a 4-inch nail, holes about the width of a pencil lid. Hang it by wire or twine 3 feet above the run, out of the rain if you can manage it. Under the eave of the shed is ideal. Into it goes the gralloch from a deer in the stalking season, or the frames off a fish, or the offal from a rabbit. The blowflies find it within the hour. They lay. 4 to 6 days later, in warm weather, the larvae come out through the holes and drop, and the hens are standing underneath waiting. 1 tin will drop a good handful of larvae a day for a week. That is 60% protein by dry weight walking down out of the sky. The mistake people make is putting the tin over the ground where they walk. Put it in a corner, put it downwind of the house. Take it down when it is finished and burn out the tin. Now, the tin gets you the young ones. There are 2 other ways to take flies, and I use all 3. And I should tell you why a man with 240 ewes cares this much about flies in the first place. It is not the nuisance. In July, a blowfly lays on the dirty back end of a ewe, and inside a day there are maggots eating into the skin of a living animal, and a struck ewe that nobody finds is dead by the weekend. That is fly strike. Every fly I take off this place in the summer is one that is not going onto a sheep. The hens getting fed out of it is the second job. The trap was never for the birds. So the bucket, a lidded bucket with a dozen holes drilled round the shoulder, an inch of water in the bottom, and a scrap of something above the water line the flies want. They go in through the holes and they do not come back out, and they drown. Every second morning you tip the whole lot into the run and stand back because the birds lose their minds over it. And the third is the slate, which was my grandmother's, and it is the one you came here for. Before there was sticky fly paper on a roll, fly paper was treacle. Sheets of paper smeared with sugar syrup, sold by the dozen, and they were in every kitchen in this country. Then the arsenic ones came in, and there were trials in the courts over women soaking the poison back out of them, and eventually the whole business was replaced by the glue rolls you buy now. So take a roof slate, an old one off the buyer, and warm your treacle and smear it on thick with a knife. Molasses does the same, and you likely have a drum of it already if you have stock, because that is what is in the lick bucket for the ewes. Hang the slate on a nail through the hole that is already in it, in the sun, under an eave, so the rain does not take it. Flies come for the sugar, and they stick in it. Once a day you lift it down, lay it flat in the run, and the hens clean the whole slate off, flies and treacle together, and then you smear it again. I am not going to oversell this one. A slate of treacle will not catch what a glue roll catches. It runs in real heat, it wants doing again every 2 or 3 days, and it will bring wasps. This is a treat, not a feed. I put it in because it is the thing my grandmother did and because nobody is going to sell it to you. And hear me on the glue rolls. If you use them, and they are effective, they hang in the roof of the buyer where no bird can reach them. Never over the run. A hen will go at a glue roll. I have cut one free of a roll she had pulled down, and I had to take the feathers off her breast with a scissors to do it, and she was 3 weeks growing them back. That is the job I promised you at the start. Do not have it. 2. The midden turn. Every morning I put 1 forkful of the muck heap into the hen run. 1. Not a barrow load. In that forkful there are worms, dung beetle larvae, fly grubs and seed that went through a beast hole. The heap is breeding all of that whether I use it or not. The hens will spend 40 minutes on 1 forkful, and they spread it as they go, which is work I do not then have to do myself. 3. Following the stock. My birds go out behind the sheep. Where the ewes have been at the trough there is spilled nuts and dropped barley, and in the dung there is grain that came through undigested. The hens will pick a dung pat to pieces. Now here is what a sheep man knows and a poultry keeper does not. When a hen breaks up that pat and eats what is in it, she is also eating fly eggs, and she is breaking the worm cycle in that grazing before it gets back into my ewes. The birds are feeding themselves and they are worming my sheep at the same time. I have not paid for that twice. The timing is the whole of it. Put the hens in 3 or 4 days behind the stock, not the same day. Same day, and there is nothing hatched yet, and the birds get wet grass and a fright. 3 days behind, and the pat has softened, and the whole thing is alive. 4. The leather jacket lift. Leather jackets are the larvae of the crane fly, and they are the plague of Scottish pasture. They eat the root, and you get a dead yellow patch in the field in the spring. When I find one of those patches, I go out with a spade, and I turn the top 3 inches over and I let the hens in. There will be 200 grubs under a square yard of bad ground. The field improves and the birds eat like kings. The pest is the feed. That is not a saying, that is Tuesday. 5. Nettles. Cut them in June before they flower, with gloves on, and either wilt them for a day and throw them in whole, or dry them hanging in the shed for 2 weeks and then rub them to a meal between your palms. Nettle is over 20% protein on a dry matter basis, and it is full of iron and the same carotene pigment I was talking about earlier. That is the yolk colour. That is the drum of powder growing free on every old ruin and every midden edge in this country. And the reason it grows thick on the ruins is the nitrogen left where people and beasts once lived. Nettle grows where a croft was. 6. Comfrey. Plant it once by the byre wall and you have it for 30 years. 5 cuts a season. Wilt it a full day before feeding. Never fresh off the knife. 7. Rack. Seaweed. If you are within reach of the shore, walk it after a blow and take the rack off the tide line. Rinse the salt, dry it hard, crush it. The coastal crofts fed the beasts on it for centuries, and there is one island where the sheep eat nothing else. Iodine, trace minerals, and it firms an eggshell. There is a tub of kelp meal in the feed shop for a good deal of money. It is the same stuff, and on a west coast tide it lands at your feet in windrows. 8. Sprouted barley. In the winter there is no green. Take barley, soak it a day, spread it in a tray with holes, rinse it twice a day, and in 7 days you have a mat of green shoot. The volume roughly doubles, so half a sack does the work of a full one, and you have given a bird a fresh green in January when there is nothing living outside. Barley, because this is Scotland and barley is what grows here. 9. Sour milk and whey. If you have a house cow or a goat, the whey off the crowdie and the milk that has gone over are both protein and calcium, and the birds will take them. Sour, not fresh, is better for the gut. On your own holding, feeding your own birds, this is a thing you can do. If you are selling eggs off the place, look up your own country's rules before you start, because they differ. 10. The tatty pot and the chickweed. The small tatties that are not worth storing get boiled, mashed with a handful of meal, and go out warm on a cold morning. And chickweed, which grows in the tatty rig and in every disturbed bit of ground you have, is named for the bird for a reason. Pull it by the armful. That is carbohydrate and green in the 2 months when there is neither. Now I have to give something back, because I have taken a lot of your time, and none of what I have told you means anything unless I am also honest when it costs me. 3 things. The first, my grandfather hung a dead ewe over that run. I have told you that, and it is true. I cannot do it, and neither should you. Feeding fallen stock or meat or kitchen scraps to poultry is against the law in this country and in most of Europe, and the reason is not bureaucracy. It is that decaying carcass is where botulism breeds, and botulism in a flock is a limp-necked bird on the floor by morning, and the rest of them following. Deer gralloch in a tin in a cool week is a different thing from a whole sheep in July. I am telling you what I do, and I am telling you where the edge of it is. If a bird of yours goes weak in the legs, and then the neck goes down and she cannot hold her head up, that is not a feeding question. That is a vet today, and I would not wait until the end of this video. The second, you will have seen the black soldier fly larvae setups. Everyone is selling them. They are genuinely excellent, and I have watched 3 men on this platform build beautiful ones. They will not work here. That insect needs real heat, and a Highland summer does not give it. Mine failed twice before I admitted it. If you are somewhere warm, do it, and do not listen to me. If you are north, do not spend the money. The third, and this is the one that cost me the most to say. These 10 methods will not feed a flock through the whole year, not here. From about the middle of November to the end of February, the ground gives me nothing. The flies are gone, the grass is gone, and I feed bruised barley and sprouts and what I have dried. And my birds go off lay for a spell like their grandmothers did. If a man tells you that you will never buy an input again, in any climate, he is selling you something or he has not done a winter. What I am telling you is that you can take the bag out of 8 months of the year and replace the other 4 with a half sack of grain. That is the honest number. No feed company has paid me for any of this. There is no bag with my face on it, and there is no code for 10% off a bucket, and there will not be, because the day I take money from a mill is the day I can no longer tell you what is in the bag. I mentioned the book once, near the start, and I have not mentioned it since, and I am not going to again. The reason I am able to tell you the yolk colour comes out of a drum is that I have nothing in the drum. Here is why it matters beyond your own 11 birds. The price of a bag of layer feed has gone up sharply in 5 years, and every smallholder I know has felt it. It went up because grain went up, and grain went up because of a war and a fuel price and a dry summer in 3 countries at once. And not one of those things has anything to do with your 11 hens. That is what it is to be at the end of a long supply line. Somebody else's bad year arrives in your yard as a price. The people it prices out first are the ones keeping 10 birds in a village, feeding a family, and they are exactly the people who cannot absorb it. And once they stop, the eggs come from the shed with the drum of pigment in it, and that is the whole of the direction of travel. There were tens of thousands of crofts and small holdings worked in this country within living memory, and the knowledge in them was never written down. It went from a man to his grandson at a gate. My grandfather never wrote a word of this. I'm saying it into a machine because there is no grandson standing at my gate, and I would rather it went to you than went with me. So, you're weak. Smear a slate with treacle and hang it where the sun hits it. Punch a tin, hang it 3 feet up, put something in it the flies want. 1 forkful of the muck heap into the run every morning. Turn over the worst patch in your grass with a spade and let them in. Cut nettles now before they flower. Dry them in the shed. Tell me in the comments where you are and what month your grass stops. That is the number I want. Not the country, the month. I read them all, and I answer more than you would think. Next time, I am going to show you what my grandfather did with a hen that had stopped laying, before anyone had heard of a supplement. It takes 4 days, and it costs nothing, and there is one part of it that will look like cruelty to you until I explain what is happening, and then you will understand why every old woman in this glen did it. Hang the tin, turn the heap, let the birds work.